The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader. And we are continuing back through part 5 of Stephen King's It, The Ritual of Chud. This is now chapter number 22, The Ritual of Chud. This chapter was 36 pages, and that is 3.30% of the entire book. So, this is one of the most action-packed, nothing actually happens chapters I think we've ever seen. Is it just me that feels that way?
Because so much happens without anybody moving their feet.
Quite literally, the nouns that, the verbs that actually happen, pretty small, pretty limited. But good job. Go for it. Yeah, seriously, a pretty good chapter overall, I'd say. This is a lot of what I, the first-time reader, have been looking forward to and have been teased with and all these things leading up to now. And I'd say it was pretty good. That's my initial thought on it. Pretty good. So we have a bunch of sections here. 12 sections, which it jumps all over the place. Let's start with section 1, In the Lair of It, 1958. This is the young kids. And Melissa, why don't you kick us off first here?
So I just sort of have an overall thought on the section as a whole. I love that none of the kids would have done anything. They were all sort of like frozen in fear and, oh my God, and what are we going to do? And I'm not doing anything except for Bill because Bill is Bill. I'm not really counting him in that. But everybody else was like, well, I'm not, until someone else was in danger. Once Bill was in danger, then Beverly did something. And then when Beverly did something, Ben did something. When Ben did something, then it was like, okay, well, Stan has to do something and Richie has to do something. And I love that it was all about saving the friend, not about saving me, not about doing anything for me, but it was the power of the friendship that really got them to start fighting.
I can completely agree with you. I mean, that seems to be the real strength of why they've been able to even get this far, right? It has taken somebody saving somebody else over and over again every single time that they've run into this. Maybe once where Bill finally got his act together and got through the Georgie stuff. But, in general, their selflessness is what makes them such a powerful team together.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And one line that kind of pops out, to me first, I wanted to give a call out because it's a little mirror of he was vaguely aware of that Eddie Kasparek was running on his left, holding his aspirator in his good hand like a pistol. So we saw that last section where Eddie's running forward doing that. But what you're talking about with, the friendship and the drive, my smartass reads this line because I'm sick of Ben being lovesick Ben over Bev. And it does have a great line. And Luke, you haven't mentioned in your notes, so I'm not going to steal it. But the next line after it, it's, God damn you, leave Bill alone. I kind of want to imagine he's saying that to Beverly. Just like, fucking why? Just stop. Leave him alone. Let him do whatever the fuck he wants. So I know it's not. I know
that would be Ben telling Beverly to just leave Bill alone because you're not going to affect anything here. That's kind of a silly way to read it, but I can see it. I can see it.
I don't read it that way. It's just the way I like it to actually have been meant. But yeah.
So in that while that's going on, Bev calls out to Bill and is like, "Hey, someone help him!" And Ben has that frozen in fear type feeling that Melissa was getting to, and none of them can really follow through on actions until, in this case, it was Ben who hears Bev say that, and he says, well, I can't do that, I can't do it, but it was Bev who had asked him, and I think, specifically that was fine, and because it says his courage faltered, but it was Bev who had asked him, Bev, and he loved her, and then he kind of jumps into full Ben action there, but
beast mode Ben.
Mm-hmm.
He is kind of the superhero, like action figure kid of the group, isn't he?
Yeah, I've seen that several times, I'd say. So, Ben, I see you have a note about Ben as well.
Well, yeah, it was a little bit before that part. When they first walked in the room, he said, it goes, Ben backed slowly away until his ample ass struck the wall to the left of the door. He felt cold fire burn through his pants and stepped away again, but dreamily. Surely none of this could be happening. It was simply the world's worst nightmare. He found he could not lift his hands. They seemed to have big weights tied to them. It's one of those, I don't know why, that cold fire burns through his pants. I don't know why that sticks out to me, but that is a very just interesting thought process of, he touches the walls and, yeah, his ass, hits first, but, the walls are hot to the touch. And in a cold, damp, dark place like this, you don't expect anything like that. Almost as I'm talking out, makes it reminiscent of Hell's Gate or a hell in and of itself, where everything is on fire.
Yeah, I took it as literally, like, it's damp and it's wet, and the coldness is what shocks him, as if he was being burned. Not that it was actually hot or anything. It's just that, like, hey, it's so cold and so surprising that it feels like you're being burned, is how I read that myself. And
that makes more sense, honestly.
So it's the surprise along with this horrific situation that he's finding himself in, that it just all adds up to right there, where it's just like, oh shit, oh god, oh god.
Yeah. No,
I didn't pay that much attention. I have no opinion, by the way, one way or the other.
So another little thing that stood out to me here is the last line of this section, and it says, And Stan Uris, forced to approach, compelled to approach, in spite of every instinct in his mind and body, saw that Bill was staring up at it, his blue eyes fixed on its inhuman orange ones, eyes from which that awful corpse light spilled. Stan stopped, understanding that the ritual of Chud, whatever that was, had begun. So knowing that this eye connection, the eye contact that's being made here is, there's more going on than what the kids standing around there seeing Bill just, chest to chest with this giant spider face to face. There's more to it going on. And, as usual, Stan's the one that kind of figures things out first.
He's kind of the smart kid of the group, which is funny because he's like the year behind at school, but he's always quick to the uptake. I was
gonna say, I think he's the most observant.
I'd say he's pretty observant, and the bird watching, I think, trains you to be fairly observant. So maybe that's part of his skill set.
Oh, maybe.
All right, ready to move on to section number 2. Bill in the Void. Early. This was one of the most what the fuck chapters that we've had in a long time. The most that we've had in a while, at least. But this is what I would say officially the interactions of what the ritual of Chud is. It's this galactic cosmological combat that's going on. So, Benj, I'll let you kick us off here.
Mine is a little bit later, but I just wanted to add a preface line for Melissa because I like hers to note first. Who are you and why do you come to me?
Hello, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Oh wait, wrong story. Same sentiment though, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm Bill Denbrough. You know who I am and why I'm here. You killed my brother, and I'm here to kill you.
You picked the wrong kid, bitch. So good.
Like a 6-fingered man to come out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. And this book, but that movie. Oh, that's all. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, so, it starts with, he's calling him out and saying, I'm here to kill you. I'm going, you're going to die. And it's just like, okay. And he kind of flea flicks him. That's the image I get. Just kind of, and Bill goes flying out. It's the best way I can put it. Going out, going into the universe, into the void. And it's a very fast paced, kind of rapid fire, stuff popping off real quick. And it's one that, the first couple times reading through, when I first read it, I had to read this section a couple times just to kind of figure out, okay, well, I should read, I had to listen to because I audiobooked it the first time through. Okay, I gotta slow this down and really pay attention to what the hell's being said here because there's some heavy shit going on, especially, when he goes by the turtle.
Yay, turtle! Luke, it's a turtle!
It's finally the turtle. This goddamn turtle.
How do you feel about the turtle?
I like the turtle, but it's kind of like, hey, pitch in, bitch. Do something. It's one of those like, hey, you have this great pal, and you know they're likely capable of doing exactly what you want to happen, but no, they're above all that, man. They're staying out of it, man.
Hey, I made the universe.
Yeah, and you let this happen? It's kind of on him.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought of it. So the Big Bang was basically just an explosion coming on, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he that's kind of what it describes it as, right? I think even it says something about that, doesn't he? Before.
Well, I think the turtles, because Melissa has the line on her notes there, but he makes a comment to something like that, right, Melissa?
I'm getting there. What are you? I'm the turtle, son. I made the universe, but please don't blame me for it. I had a bellyache. Help me, please help me. I take no stand in this matter. And then they go on, and the turtle has a whole conversation of is it just me, or does it feel like Sarge from Cars? Like George Carlin, like stoner voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see. So it says, I thought that stupid old fuck died years ago. For all the good he could do you, he might as well have. Did you think he could help you? So he's talking about the turtle there.
I think it's later that Luke's thinking of with.
Yeah, it might not be in this section.
Yeah, because there's another part where it brings up the turtle and talks about stuff.
Yeah, it may not be in this section that you're talking about, Luke, where it mentions the turtle creating the universe.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But that does happen at some point.
Yes.
Remember that for sure.
Yeah. But then as Bill's passing the turtle, he has this thought of the turtle spoke in Bill's head, and Bill understood somehow that there was yet another, and that final other dwelt in a void beyond this one. The final other was perhaps the creator of the turtle, which only watched, and it, which only ate. This other was a force beyond the universe, a power beyond all other power, the author of all there was. And so that's pretty much, I'm going to say, confirmation, because once our main characters get the, mindset of there is the other, that's where they get the knowledge of there's something, then it's confirmed. So that's their confirmation of the great other. It's still yet to be seen if it's the great other guiding the group, because right now we're being told that it wasn't the turtle at all guiding the group together.
Pretty much, yeah. It sounds like, what that line you just said, I think gives a lot of information that there's the turtle, which is the creator, and that only watches, and then there's it, and then the other, which is something beyond the universe, beyond all other power. Maybe that's what has been actually speaking to the group. Seems like it would have to have. And they're just misconstruing it as the turtle because that's the easier thing to latch on with the information that we have, at least at this point. But yeah, the turtle itself, I guess I'm a little disappointed. I was super excited to meet the turtle, and I like the turtle, but it's just kind of like, hey, help out. I get it. You're just a watcher. I get it. You did your part. It's not your role to play, but Melissa and Benji can both confirm that as I was reading this, I instantly paused it at this one line and messaged in our Slack group, this is the funniest line I think I've read in this entire book, and I think it's going to be tough to be beaten. It just caught me so off guard, because we're just meeting the turtle, and Bill saying, please, you are good. I sense and believe that you are good, and I am begging you, won't you please help me? You already know there is only Chud and your friends. Please, oh please, son, you've got to thrust your fists against the posts and still insist you see the ghosts. That's all I can tell you. Once you get into cosmological shit like this, you gotta throw away the instruction manual. And I was like, what? Really? Really? You're using this? I was just sitting there at work listening to this book, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, Turtle? What the hell, man?
We were listening to it pretty much almost the exact same time unknowingly, because I just listened to that line. I'm like, oh, that's a great line. And within 10 minutes, Luke posts that. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Oh, man. It was just like, once you get into cosmological shit like this, you've got to throw away the instruction manual. It's a good sentiment. Like, basically, the rules don't really apply here. I get that.
Wouldn't there be nice if there had been rules to start with?
Right.
Come on now, Turtle.
Right.
What was in those?
Yeah. But that really surprised me for sure.
Yeah. So a little bit, a paragraph down from there. I don't know why this. Every time I listen to the audiobook, I hear him go, "How do you like it out here, little friend? Do you like it? Do you love it?" I keep wanting to say, "Do you want some more of it?
Do you want some more of it?
You know,
do you try so hard?
You didn't even know it." But you know, it's everything it can do to get under Bill's skin and just, you know, kind of, make him go insane and hold to the fact of, you're fucked. You're out here with me. You're in my realm, you know, and Bill's just not having it.
Bill does consistently, before he even gets, as you very well put it, flea flicked out into the void of nothingness, he keeps trying to start in his head, say the thrusting his fists line, and he's like, I feel like that's gonna work if I can just say it. And he starts noticing that, you know, that's when Pennywise really starts getting kind of angry but scared. He can tell that it is on the defense with that. He's trying to get Bill to not be able to finish that and believe in what he can actually control himself. And at one point he says, you know, stop babbling. The time is short. Let us talk a while we still can. He's using these deflection and distraction techniques to just take as much time as he can from Bill, because clearly they're still moving, and it's only dangerous to get closer to these deadlights that we keep moving closer to, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And right along with that, Bill starts knowing, he's like, you know, if I move past the point of communication, if I get so far that I can't get back to his friends, he knows that essentially he's toast. You know, he's beyond salvation. And, you know, he's like, to pass beyond communication was to pass beyond salvation. He understood that much from the way his parents had behaved toward him after George had died. It was the only lesson their refrigerator coldness had to teach him.
Yeah.
So sad.
No, definitely. And so he does finally get the phrase out. He gets it out because he mimics his father unknowingly to himself. He presents the voice of his father, and he gets the thrust his fist against the post, and it breaks it. You know, it causes him to halt. Now this is after he bit into the tongue, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This is after he used in his mind bit into his tongue. And the thing was, when he first bit into it, I believe, or just before when he's starting to try this, trying to get it out, Pennywise, or it, comes in with, stop it, I command that you stop it. After he's bit in and he gets it out, Bill comes back with, bring me back, you must, I command it, I demand it. I like the parallels, and it does, it does draw him back to reality.
Mm-hmm.
Under that, where, Bill mimics it, and it has to follow his commands.
Yeah, and I really like, kind of in that section and a little bit before, Bill's, kind of figuring out what he has to do and why Bill was the one that's being taken away. He kind of thinks about this to himself, and it says, leaving it and approaching it, but the leaving was somehow more important. If it wanted to eat little kids out here or suck them in or whatever, it did. Why hadn't it sent all of them out here? Why just him? Because it had to rid its spider self of him. That was why. Somehow the spider it and the it, which it called the Deadlights, were linked. Whatever lived out here in the black midnight might be invulnerable when it was here and nowhere else. But it was also on Earth, under Derry, in a form that was physical. However repulsive it might be, in Derry it was physical, and what was physical could be killed. And so I think it's pretty shortly after that Bill starts getting a lot of confidence in knowing what he has to do, and that goes right into what you were just saying there when he bites in and follows up with demanding and commanding it to bring him back there, because now he has his goal of, if I can get back there, we can kill it physically. Yeah.
And going along those same lines as Bill's talking about belief and everything, he's talking about how Santa Claus isn't real and no more crying in George's room because you couldn't save him. Didn't know, believe in yourself, believe in the heat of that desire. And he goes on to, oh shit, I believe in all those things, he shouted, and it was true. Even at 11, he had observed that things turned out right a ridiculous amount of time. And honestly, I can say he's absolutely right. At 11, at 35 years old, things actually do turn out right, typically, if you will them to. You have to work for them, but usually you can get things to turn out right more often than not. And this comes from a guy who lived by Murphy's Law for a long time, but reading that, it's like, you're damn straight. And it's nice to read that, from the perspective, of an 11-year-old.
Oh, shit. I believe in all those things, he shouted.
Yeah.
I just have one final thought about this section.
Go for it.
Bill did a really good job.
Bill did a really good job.
It's disheartening to know that it didn't work.
It almost worked.
It almost worked. And Bill even said at one point, he was like, come on guys, what if it's not dead? What if it's not dead? And all the kids were like, no, it's dead. It's dying. You heard it. We gotta go. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so for me, there's this taint in this section of like, yeah, that's great, but it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even the turtle warned them.
Yep.
Warned Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I'd end it now.
Almost weary voice of the turtle. I'd finish it now. Don't let it get away. What can be done when you're 11 can often never be done again.
Yeah. And now, in their defense, I can kind of understand because all the rest of them are standing around. All they see is Bill come back and the turtle fleeing off, wailing, and everything like that. And the webs start coming down. They start falling and crumbling. And so it looks like, okay, it's been defeated. It's been killed. So even visually on that aspect, I can understand, from an 11-year-old's perspective, why not go after it? Because you have the mentality that, hey, we got it. But it's still, you're right, Melissa, it sucks that he didn't.
I mean, for all that work.
I think it's silly for them to think that they had any chance of killing it right here. Like that was going to be good enough. I don't know. Haven't they read Lord of the Rings? Shelob always gets away. You're never going to take Shelob down.
Was it printed in 1958? Maybe they hadn't.
Nah, they should know.
It may not have been popular enough yet. Okay.
And one final line here. I just had the closing line of this. The shadows were joining hands, and now the darkness was almost complete. But before the light faded utterly, he thought he saw the same hellish doubt on Beverly's face and Stan's eyes. And still, as the last light of the light gave away, they could hear the tenebrous whisper, shuddering thump of its unspeakable webs falling into pieces. So he knows that, at least Bev and Stan aren't sure. There's at least half the group that aren't positive.
Mm-hmm.
Or almost half.
All right. Section number 3. Bill in the Void, late. So this jumps back to older, well, I should say jumps up to older Bill in his ritual of Chud. Just gets right into it where we left him off as he was making eye contact in the last chapter. Benj, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, my only note for this whole section is it doesn't lie. And so when Bill says, I don't believe you about the turtle, that's one thing we've proven. It doesn't need to lie to get to people. Usually the truth is worse than fiction for most. And so using the truth against Bill here, I don't have a good feeling.
How about you, Melissa?
I just thought it was funny that its first comment to old Bill was, oh, you're just as bald as a cue ball.
Yeah.
So I say what you want about the monster. He's pretty darn funny.
Oh, he's clever, for sure.
Yeah. Not that, I'm a fan or anything. I'm not, like, picking sides. I'm not Team Pennywise. But, he's pretty funny. R.I.P. Turtle Man. Little upset about the turtle throwing up and choking on his own vomit or something like that in his...
On a galaxy or two.
A galaxy or two, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking that was the line you were thinking of, Luke.
No, I think it was actually last chapter when we were in its perspective.
Oh, okay.
I think that's where it comes in, what I was thinking of before. And Pennywise kind of says, that, you surprised me last time, shame on me, kind of thing, right? And you hurt me. He's honest with them. He says, this, you got me. But guess what? I was the one that called you back. And Bill shoots back, yeah, you called all right, but you were not the only one. And I don't know if that is news to Pennywise or not, that potentially this final other, this great other, whatever we want to call it, non-turtle other demigod thing that we can, that we have to play with in this galactic weird thing. I don't know if Pennywise knows that they've been in contact with that other one. I think he's maybe speculated, but this could have been a true confirmation that maybe there is more help for them than I thought. And then, because that's when he drops on, your friend, the turtle, he died a few years ago, but some of the help that Bill's talking about has just been in the past week that they've been hearing some of these things. So that's where, to me, it's... Sorry?
48 hours.
Right. Yeah. And, but then that's when he drops, the information that, the turtle is dead. And Bill says, I don't believe that either. And I don't know if I believe that either. So, I'm gonna stick with Bill on this one. We'll, I guess, just have to wait and see. We might not ever find out. It might just be speculations, but.
So then this section kind of goes on. They exchange some things, and then Bill, like last time, reaches out to, I guess, take his metaphorical teeth and chomp into it, and he misses this time.
He misses. So does that mean he just slightly doesn't believe in something well enough? I mean...
Or is his focus torn because he's worried about Audra and because they saw her hanging up? Like,
I kind of thought of it as Pennywise, it was ready for him. It expected it and pulled back and
has the upper hand on that because of his awareness of it.
Yeah, he knew it was coming. He expected it.
And at this point, Bill hasn't seen Audra.
No.
So Bill is not distracted by Audra. The idea of Audra being down here, but he hasn't specifically seen her, I guess. So it's still definitely on his mind. I think that's fair. So.
Well, they knew she was down here somewhere.
Right, that's what I was saying. He didn't see her before he went into Chud, but she's been on his mind since they found her purse outside. Right. So reasonable. Section number 4. We ready? This is Richie. So, yeah, this is a section where we're kind of back out with the adult group, watching Bill, almost like a third person type thing. We see Bill. It's not third person. It's Richie's perspective, but, and they start watching him and they're like, why doesn't someone do something? Something's going wrong. We gotta pitch in here. And again, they all feel frozen. Like I think most of them are probably having similar thoughts to what's going on here, but they just fundamentally somehow can't get involved.
Well, and they're so used to Bill taking the lead. Like, that's what he's supposed to do. The fact that it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like,
it worked last time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then from the distance, we hear the turtle is dead. Oh God, the turtle really is dead. It's like, oh shit. And that goes back to my note of the previous section. It doesn't lie, it doesn't need to.
Unconfirmed. That is hearsay. There is no proof on that.
Fine.
That is a feeling.
Fine. We'll wait. But then, Richie holding true to his number 2 position and being the one who runs headlong in to help. He sees Bill is struggling. I think this is where that starts blood starts coming out of his nose and, possibly even his ears.
Mm-hmm.
But you hear from Richie, here, me fine girl. Just what the hell do you think you're doing? Relay that guff before I snatch your petty skirts and snap your smitty riddles. And it's, as Eddie puts it, a voice that, Richie's gotten way better because it sounded almost exactly like Mr. Nell.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that was really impressive of it. And he bites in and gets him. And he lands the bite. So, because, and as it describes, he wasn't expecting that one. It's like, oh shit, I planned on the writer. Who the hell's this loudmouth?
Right, yeah, that's the sense of surprise of having that many people and thinking that Bill was the only threat to him. Yeah, a little short-sighted on Pennywise's part, I think. Like, they're coming in numbers. You've been working against that for weeks. Have a little idea that maybe more than one of them is dangerous to you? I don't know.
Well, I think that goes back to in the younger years where he would automatically go back to the last one that heard it. Beverly heard it in House on Evil Street, so when they were in the sewers, it went for Beverly first. And then Eddie's the one that heard it down the sewers, so the next scene, it goes for Eddie first. And then Bill's the one that heard it back in 58, so it's going for Bill first in the one-on-one combat. So I think, yes, it's very short-sighted on Pennywise on its part, but I think it's been set that it's that trained focus. You're the last one to hurt me. I'm going to take you out because I forgot about everybody else. And Richie's never heard it, so it's a non-threat.
And speaking of hurting it's hurting badly now. It says it was hurting badly now, and Richie understood how completely he had caught it by surprise. And this is, getting into that whole thing. And, but while that's going on, good enough, Richie says, Richie didn't care about killing it right now. He was no longer sure it could be killed, but Bill could be killed. and Richie sensed that Bill's time was now very, very short. And so, yeah, it seems like we're getting closer to the deadlights, right?
Yeah, Bill was getting really close towards the end there. I think he even crossed for a second. And
yeah, I have that whole section highlighted too, if you would like to read through it.
I don't have it highlighted. I have, pretty much for this section, I have all of Richie's funny voice lines of, "What do you second, senorita? We's going to have together, and I ain't going to sell you no tickets in La Rita. After all, and everyone is a big wiener. I swear by mama's name." How it could survive not laughing at that? Come on. That was the whole point, is you have to make, the monster laugh.
And I was thinking about that, like, there were some pretty good one-liners in there, and yeah, no laughter on either side.
Yeah. And then, my great line in there, "Richie, no, go back. It's the edge of everything up here. It's the deadlights. Sounds like what you turn on when you're driving a hearse at midnight, senor." That one still stands out to me. But, no, Luke, go ahead. Like, unless, Melissa, you got something.
All right. And suddenly Bill was there, skidding along the left, right. There was no direction here, one side or the other. And beyond him, coming up fast, Richie could sense something that finally dried up his laughter. It was a barrier, something of a strange, non-geometrical shape that his mind could not grasp. Instead, his mind translated it as best as it could, as it had translated the shape of it into a spider, allowing Richie to think of it as a colossal gray wall made of fossilized wooden stakes. These stakes went forever up and forever down, like the bars of a cage. And from between them shone a great blind light. It glared and moved, smiled and snarled. The light was alive, deadlights. More than alive. It was full of force, magnetism, gravity, perhaps something else. Richie felt himself lifted and dropped, swirled and pulled as if he were shooting a fast throat of rapids in an inner tube. He could feel the light moving eagerly over his face. The light was thinking, "This is it. This is it. The rest of it." So there's that.
Yeah. Sorry. And as they're going, Bill's just about to cross through, and Richie reaches out and shouting to him, "Give me your hand. Give me your hand, goddammit, your hand." Bill's hand shot out, and Richie thinks he misses it. And for a second, there's, I'm going to read this. "That living fire crawling and twisting over Audra's wedding ring in runic, Moorish patterns. Wheels, crescents, stars, swastikas, linked circles that grew into rolling chains. Bill's face was overlaid with the same light, making him look tattooed. Richie stretched out as far as he could, hearing it scream and yammer. And he thinks, I missed him. Oh, dear God, I missed him. It's going to shoot through. And as Bill's fingers closed on Richie's, he kind of shot halfway through, and the maw of the world's strongest x-ray machine is kind of showing through, and Richie can actually see like Bill's bones and tendons and everything through his legs on the other side of that fence. And then they get yanked back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't get yanked back. He threatens it and says, pull us back or I'll kill you. I'll voice you to death.
I'll voice you to death.
I really think Richie could have done it too.
Yeah.
Like if he'd been willing to die out there, he probably could have sat there and voiced it until it died. That would have been one way to do it.
Yeah, and so then they start heading back, right? And there was the turtle there and gone in a single eye blink. Richie sensed them drawing closer to whatever passed for the real world, although he believed he would never think of it as exactly real again. He would see it as a clever canvas scene underlaid with a crisscrossing of support cables like strands of a spider web. But we're going to be all right, he thought. We're going back. And it gets cut off. But so they start heading back. I've got thoughts on these, but we'll come back to it.
Okay.
So section number 5. So the very end of that section of section 4. They start getting closer, but then they start almost slipping. They start slipping apart from each other, and as we know, they have to stick together for them to be effective. So, help, Richie screamed. I'm losing it. Help. Somebody help us. And then we jump into section 5, Eddie. Melissa, I'm going to let you kick us off here.
So, this is just one of those sections that it's hard to come up with a whole bunch of like thoughts over this, over the little pieces. It's just the big overall thought of Eddie believes in the medicine magic one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And not just one more time, one last time. And I love that he's able to do that for his friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, and before that, there's a line that does really stick out to me. When it's the first opening line of it, Eddie was half aware of what was happening. He felt it somehow, saw it somehow, but as if through a gauzy curtain. Somewhere Bill and Richie were struggling to come back. Their bodies were here, but the rest of them, the real of them, was far away. And I don't know why, but that the real of them, that line, and it's italicized. It's meant to stand out to you. Actually really does hit me. I don't know, just some way that it's like, yeah, this is my body, but this isn't the real of me. That's, it's
your consciousness.
The consciousness, the real person inside there. And so just that line just absolutely stuck out to me when I heard it over and over and then read it. Everything. I just wanted to give that a nice little shout out for a good line.
Hello, me. Meet the real me.
You're good enough. You're smart enough.
Gosh darn it. People like you. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this section. He steps up. Eddie steps up and makes a gallant and valiant charge to have one final belief and just get the job done for what he can do right now. Very, very commendable.
Yeah, and I think we probably all have the same thing highlighted, but unless you have the notes, so go ahead.
Do yours.
Oh, well, mine is, this is definitely a fitting end for Eddie. It mirrors Georgie in losing the arm, and it mirrors Bill losing a brother. Because of anybody in Losers, Eddie was the little brother to Bill. And so it's again, the mirroring, calling back, and the echoes from the past towards everybody else.
And of course, his last line before he dies is, "Don't call me Eds. You know why?" And he doesn't get out the hate that part.
Yeah, because Richie comes up with, "Eds, oh my god, Bill, Ben, someone, he's lost his arm. Richie, what? Don't call me Eds."
But then it also says Eddie closed his eyes, thinking how to finish, and while he was still thinking it over, he died.
And the monster was no more.
The animator died, and the monster was no more. Yeah, this was the other thing while going through this, the first time that I was listening to it at work. I sent a message to the Slack group, and I think all I said was, did I say, "See ya, Eds"? See ya, Eds, in parentheses, "Don't call me Eds," Kasprek. Oh, a little bit of lighthearted. He great character, honestly.
It's a fitting end, he
going
went
out
and he lived.
Truly heroic. I mean, that is the epitome of heroism right there, and altruism to help your team. I like it. It's good stuff.
You live by the medicine, you die by the medicine.
And part of it has died by the medicine as well.
Exactly.
All right, we ready for section number 6?
Oh, okay.
All right, this is a doozy as well. Section 6, dairy, 7 to 9 a.m. Melissa, I'm gonna jump off with you on this one as well.
Okay, first of all, this is my favorite section. I thoroughly enjoyed it to the point that I chose not to take notes, pretty much because I could talk about each individual little thing a whole bunch. The clock and the doctor and Mr. Nell and the Zale store and all of it. So I'm just not. But I would like to point out format-wise, this entire section was one paragraph.
I saw that.
4-page long single paragraph of it's like a rolling commentary of everything happening. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. I was like scrolling through because I'm reading it on the Kindle version. And I'm like, there's no break here. What the hell? I didn't pay attention if it was the whole section, but it's the whole section.
Mm-hmm.
So my first note on this is about Raymond Fogarty, who was the minister who presided over George Dembro's funeral in 1957. Yeah, kind of sucks. He ended up dying by a beer cooler toppling over around him down at the corner of Mares Street and Cape Avenue because a tree got knocked down.
A night owl store.
What's that?
A night owl store was flattened by a tree over there as well.
Yeah, and a beer cooler there smashed the Reverend. I think it's a pretty good deal worked out for the bar janitor,
Booger.
Honestly, for Booger Caliendo. It's a pretty good deal worked out for him. Minimum wage and all the beer you can drink. At least till the taps are empty.
Well, it said he's been an alcoholic since he started college 11 years ago, so yeah, that's right up his alley, I guess. Another piece of information we got early in this was the clock in the church didn't chime at 6 or 7 that morning either. We knew that it hadn't at 5, so it didn't the next 2 hours. But then 20 minutes later, at 7:20, it chimed 13 times. Less than 5 minutes later, it gets struck by lightning and explodes like it was set up with dynamite.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then was it the pastor's wife that saw that?
I think so.
Yeah. The pastor's wife saw that.
And one more thought on your janitor there. What a horrible sight! All that beer being wasted. Right?
Exactly.
Oh man, no. I'm gonna read this. This is one of the most disheartening and upsetting things that have ever happened. That's ever happened in this book, and it basically says he saw all 7 of the beer taps. 3 Bud, 2 Narragansett. What the hell is that? Narragansett. 1 Schlitz, known more familiarly to the bleary patrons of Wally's as Slits, and 1 Miller Lite. Nod forward, as if pulled by 7 invisible hands. Beer ran from them in streams of gold-white foam. Vince started forward, thinking not of ghosts or phantoms, but of his morning's dividend going down the drain.
Exactly.
So sad.
Terrifying.
Just terrible.
I have no problem with this. I think it's fine.
So, my next note is talking about, and I want to get his first name right, Aloysius Snell.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about Aloysius Snell. He's sitting there in his lounger next to his wife holding his coffee, and all of a sudden, he screams out, "Here, here, me fine girl, just what the hell you think you're doing? Belay that guff before I snatch your pretty skip," and he drops his cup and dies. Line for line, exactly what Richie said down in the tunnels about this time. We don't
exactly this time.
Well,
I think so.
I think so too. We don't get the confirmation time wise of what time's going on with them in there. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same time because Eddie calls it out, saying that was the best impression of Mr. Nell. No, that was fucking Mr. Nell coming through Rich and ended up dying. I think right as Rich bit into it. I want to say that's my call. You know.
So that happened at 7:32 a.m. is when that happened. So that's when Richie gets involved. That's like the first major thing that Richie does, right? Is jump in with the Irish cop voice that's actually fundamentally exactly Nell somehow. But 7 minutes before that, 7:25, was when the Grace Baptist steeple was blown up.
Yes. And that's
so. What does that correlate to with what Bill was doing?
I would bet that's right when he I don't think it took 7 minutes for Bill to miss and Richie to.
Right. I think it was something that Bill had done.
I think that's what he said. "I'm still Bill Denbrough. You killed my brother and you killed Stan the Man. You tried to kill Mike, and I'm going to tell you something. This time I'm not going to stop until the job's done."
Could have been. Yeah.
Like the first initial interaction, like, "Here I am."
Mm-hmm.
That alone.
Yeah, that could be. But I do like that we get these times. Like, I like how specific it is because you can actually go through and try to plot it out. It's all assumptions, but pretty reasonable, I'd say.
Exactly. So one final question I had, I should say this for the new reader, but did we know the mall was built over the old Kitchener Ironworks? Was that mentioned when, like during the,
it would be the
Bill's
reunion.
taxi, during the taxi ride or whatever?
Chapter 10.
Yeah. It just feels like something we would have caught, having heard about Kitchener or something. So it's just one of those, like, and I don't know, but when I read that, I'm like, oh shit, okay. No, I guess they're not having Easter at the mall either.
The New Dairy Mall, where the New Dairy Mall stands on Easter Sunday, 1906. The owner of Kitchener Ironworks, which stood where the brand spanking new Dairy Mall now stands, held an Easter egg hunt for all the good children of Derry.
Okay, fair.
So that was back in the original first interlude.
Gotcha.
And I'm right in the episode where Mike calls Bill to invite him to the lunch. And Bill says, "Okay, where's the reunion? You remember where the old ironworks used to be? Pasture Road, sure. You're behind times, old chum. That's Mall Road these days. We've got the 3rd biggest shopping mall in the state out there." Okay,
fair enough.
I didn't remember that either. So when I saw your note, I was like, yes, I forgot about that. Well, we knew, but it was a long time.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it at the time, maybe not that one as specifically, of how all of these new things are built over these dairy things, like dairy things. I think we would have had to have mentioned that.
Yeah. And one
if not, go back and listen to our chapters on those.
And let us know.
Leave us a comment if you did that.
Yeah. But one other thing, I just kind of side note, pretty much every store that is mentioned is actually still in existence. Like, or almost everyone. JCPenney, Zales, there were Baskin Robbins, trying to think, was there any other? What's that?
Sears.
Yeah, I mean, there's an online Sears.
There's but like, it's still hanging on. I don't know if they still watches anymore, but
I mean, for as much as malls are dead now, those are still around, from here and there. Oh, no, I do like Seiko watches and all that.
Can we talk about the bank that blew up?
Yes.
I wouldn't say no to finding some cash in my backyard. I'm just saying. That'd be kind of convenient. I got a 50, a couple of 20s, 100 plastered against the oak tree. I think that sounds great. I mean, not the reason why it happened, but wake up one morning, go out and check the backyard. It'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Or the guy who just randomly took a picture of the Sears roof inside of, or cutting through the silo, making $60, getting some Yamaha tires off that.
I was gonna mention that of like that's just one of those. God damn you, Stephen King! Like that's such like a personal thing that you can just easily throw in. It's another one of it's the Kilgallen's 16-year-old son rushes out. I mean, it's just like instantly. You can picture this kid doing this. This could be like a whole chapter of this kid seeing this and like doing it, but no, one sentence. I get the whole picture. I get what he did for the next 3 years of his life with his motorcycle. Like I get it. It's like
he's so good, that guy.
Just enough.
Guy. Man, if only he was a well-known author.
I know. I just can't believe he's just so unfound.
Why hasn't he written more?
I wish he was more prolific.
Dude. After having spent most of my day looking at his collective works and the years that it was published, it's amazing to me, like, that he's friends with George R.R. Martin. That's amazing to me, honestly.
Leave George alone. He's a saint.
Right. That was the answer to that question. Okay. The only other thought I had was about good old Dr. Hale, who said, oh, this storm ain't nothing. You should have seen it in 57. That was a storm. Oh, 57, the one that began all this crazy because that's when Georgie got his arm eaten off.
Mm-hmm.
Nice throwback. I appreciated that.
I had that one highlighted as well.
All right. Do we want to jump into section 7? I feel like we're...
Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty. Section number 7, Under the City, 4:15 p.m. So we are in the afternoon hours, which means we're back with the kiddos. Benj, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, so the only thing I have on this section was basically they're getting out, they're working their way, they can't really find their way out, they're getting lost, and Bill hears, as Ben's talking, kind of a muffled moan, cry, and he thinks Ben would have been astounded to know it, but Bill thought the fat boy tough and resourceful, steadier than Richie, less apt to cave in suddenly than Stan. If Ben was getting ready to crack, they were on edge of very bad trouble. So that's saying something. As much as we have talked about Ben's cowardice and his bravery comes through with Bev because of Bev putting, it out there. I don't think Bill's entirely sees that. I think Bill does see Ben as like the most other brave person for seeing what he's gone through, seeing standing up to Henry as many times as he's had to, going through everything he's had, and being the fat kid in a group of, in the world of skinnies, being the fat kid, you have to be brave. And I think Bill kind of sees that as Ben has untapped bravery. But if he's about to crack, we're fucked.
Yeah, I think there's something to that Ben's a bit of a rock for the group. He's steadfast, Ben. He is tough. And if that's the player on the team that's starting to have trouble, like that doesn't bode well for everybody. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah,
I mean, as they're lost and as, if Ben's if Ben's losing it, they all are, it's that connection that they're losing to each other, right? Like, if they can't hold it together, if they can't stay together as a team, like I tell my son whenever we go out in public, we have to stay together as a group, right? Stay with your team. And they just kind of aren't. Like, they're physically together, but mentally and emotionally, they're really not there at all.
Yeah. Going back to what you brought up last episode, Melissa, you're my person. You have to stay with me. The Grey's Anatomy thing. Mm-hmm. You're my person. So we're your people.
Yeah.
Sorry, trying to make a reference joke.
That's
anyway. Anyway, moving on.
I don't have much on this section. They get lost.
Beverly has an idea.
She sure does. More on that later.
Zip.
Unzipping sounds. And section 8. In the Lair of It, 1985. Who wants to go first?
Okay, so I will, because I feel a bit like a traitor, okay? This was a Beverly-centric section. Richie runs off, Bill runs off, Ben runs off, Eddie's dead, Audra's bungee jumping, and Beverly just sits there. She doesn't do anything. She's kind of useless in 1985. Am I like reading it wrong? She just was driving me nuts because she wasn't helping anybody.
She's comforting the dead body, Melissa. I mean, there's that. What a motherly instinct thing to do. I don't know. I'm kind of with you on. It seems like she's pretty underutilized, and it's of her own choice. It seems like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
like I'm
not doing. Yeah.
But it's also one of those, we know really the roles of the others, or at least Bill, Ben, and Richie, who are the three that are left standing, per se, in the battle head on with it. Beverly's role was the shooter, but there's nothing to shoot. I don't disagree with you, Melissa, that she kind of feels like almost a hindrance, in this aspect, but I think it was just maybe there just wasn't anything for her to do. And
I disagree. I think she is not a Wonder Pony. She could, like, not to get too far ahead because, there's other sections, but she just sat there and cried. I don't know. Her girliness was annoying to me, and that's all I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I do agree with you. And my notes were mainly all based off of yours because there wasn't much to this section. And as I was going through, you sped past me. So I was like, those are good points. I might play off of that. So go ahead with your second note, Melissa.
Thanks. So we have a dead Stan, a dead Eddie, a useless Beverly, and a hospitalized Mike, right? Those are our people. And I have to say, earlier in the book, 7 kids felt like a big group. Yes, 7 is a magic number. It has power, blah, blah, blah. But it's hard to keep track of 7 characters. It's hard to make 7 characters feel like well-rounded, individualized people, but still maintain the sense of group. Thank God we had 7 because now there's only 3 people doing anything. It's very overwhelming to think of just Bill, Ben, and Richie being able to take on it all by itself and finish it off. I'm glad we have 3, but I don't think 3 is enough.
And yeah, I don't disagree with on that. If I was going to choose 3 of any of them, that probably would be the 3 I would choose. I might switch out Bill for Mike though, because Mike knows his shit. So
Bill is emotionally compromised right now because also in this section he does see Audra and has a hard time being even pulled. I mean, Richie's essentially pulling him away, and that guilt or whatever for not doing anything for Audra is going to be a detriment for Bill for sure.
Yeah, I would switch out Mike.
Yeah, but
I don't think I have anything else. They head off.
And Beverly sits there.
So does
Audra
Eddie
comes
does
down
too.
in her cocoon.
You know what? Eddie has already done more than Beverly, and he's dead.
Eddie and Audra, layabouts. Get your shit together. Come on, help the team out. Come on, team.
Go team losers.
Go team corpses. Section number 9 is titled Ben. So this is where Ben kind of gets his little aspect to play here, and it's one of the grosser things I think we've seen in a while. Ben caught them. Bill and Richie ran on. Ben watched them in the rapidly dimming light for a moment. They ran into the darkness of its escape passage and were lost from sight. Then he looked down at the first of the thin-shelled eggs, at the black manta-like shadow inside, and felt his determination waver. Ugh. Yeah, these are pretty gross. And essentially these are the eggs of evil that have been kind of dropped or aborted along the way to aid in its escape.
Yeah.
Gross,
dropping the weight.
Terrifying, unending horror. It's pretty bad.
Yep. Each was black and rough-shelled, perhaps as big as an ostrich egg. A waxy light shone from within them. Ben realized they were semi-transparent. He could see black shapes moving inside. Its children. Its miscarried children.
Yeah.
Ew.
So 2 thoughts on this. First, Ben smash. Gotta go with that. Second was, I just hit the line. And Ben could hear it in his head, its high mewling cries, like the sound of a handsaw being rapidly bent back and forth so that it makes a ghostly music. So it sounded pretty cool. By hence of your guys' other podcast, musical saws are actually kind of cool listening.
I highlighted that line as well. I'm so glad that you pointed that out, that it's literally, it's handsaw music, and they call it ghost music. I appreciate that. Shout out to the podcast that must not be named.
Yes.
Back at the Death Day party in book 2. That was a memorable chapter recording that.
That was.
But yeah, no, I was with you. That was, I'm glad that King used that same type of description there.
Used at first.
Yeah, I know. I'm just glad that he has used that. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying, oh, wow, you took that from JK 20 years before she wrote that book.
How dare you steal my thoughts?
Right.
Me having them.
Don't take inspiration from me in the future. What's wrong with you? So Ben starts smashing these eggs, and as he's doing so, he breaks the eggs, but then these small shadow spiders start getting out as well, and he has to crush those as well. Mm-hmm. And the whole time he's going, he's getting less and less light, and he calls it the dying light, which is pretty foreboding. That's all I'll say on that right now. But
So I do have something to add to that, Luke, really quick, just personal experience, because that's kind of what I do, is...
you kill evil shadow spiders?
Kind of. To some of my customers, yes. But if you've ever actually broken up a spider egg sac or anything...
I have not. I'll take your word for it.
Yes. Only one coming out is a good thing. Makes things easy. Usually there's way more than that. Mm-hmm. But I can understand the mental image that King's presenting here of you break it open and it's just scurrying. I mean, it's slowly, it's only half born, so it's scurrying, but it's that weird feeling like, I'm killing this. It's technically an innocent. It's done nothing wrong, but it will, kind of thing. And so I may be reading more into it than really even Ben's putting into it, but the descriptive of that King used was spot on.
And it's also, just cracking the egg isn't enough. You have to destroy the thing that gets released as well immediately.
Exactly.
Gross. It's gross. Kill them all. They're gross. That is all. Which leads me to my note for the next section whenever you're all ready.
I think I'm good. Let's go to section 10. It, 1985.
Dead babies. Dead babies everywhere. I'm sorry, Monster Mommy. They're killing your kids. Good. That's all.
So this is where it senses that the man boys, I think it calls them, are chasing them, and also that its eggs are being stamped to death.
Yes, yeah, and I think it makes a comment of it had to drop it to flee or steadily upon its trail of birth, almost insane with revulsion, but continuing nonetheless methodically stamping the life from each of its eggs. But I think it was because that's not something that's built. That's not like a trail that it's over time, as you said, Luke, to help aid in its escape. It dropped on its way.
That's how I just assume. I don't know if it
maybe not specifically says
that.
Yeah. So my other note on there was it had a terrible rupture, or a terrible burn in its eye, and a terrible rupture in its stomach. And I'd like to think that that's Eddie. The burn in the eye, we know that's the Eddie spray, but the rupture in the stomach, it's the aspirator, expanding and blowing. So now, it has a poisonous bomb that just went off inside of it.
Contents under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's CO2. I mean, it's not CO2 based, but it's aerosol based.
So the last line of this section says, "And still they came on, closing the distance, and how could this happen? It whined and mewled." That word's been used a lot this section. There's a lot of mewling going on, I'll say. Mewling. Okay. And when it sensed them almost directly behind, it did the only thing it could do now. It turned to fight. So, can't make it away. It's tried. It says it's bleeding to death is kind of what it says. It's, life force running from 100 wounds. So they've done a lot of damage to it, and more than I think we maybe realized. It's taken on some serious damage. And I think a lot of that is, Eddie and Richie, I think, was very successful against it as well. So let's get into section 11 with Beverly.
Mm-hmm. Why doesn't she get up? Get up. Let dead Eddie go. You can't do anything. See, no.
Daddy.
She pulled with Eddie. Did Eddie?
Why didn't she just let Daddy go?
Daddy Eddie.
You're sorry. I'm not over my rant from the last time we saw Beverly.
Yeah, and mine just kind of goes actually more towards I don't dislike Beverly. I don't know why, but this line bugged me. It's the opening line, but before the last light faded, the outer dark closed, she saw Bill's wife plunge another 20 feet and then fetch up again. She had begun to spin, her long red hair fanning out. His wife, she thought, but I was his first love, and he thought some other woman was his first. It was only because he forgot Derry. It doesn't matter if you were his first love. Get over yourself. Like, I don't know why it bugs me, and it really shouldn't, and I know that. But that line just from her, because she is a strong female, but her playing this up of, I was his first love. So, it's like, so, I don't know, this whole section, just, So.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't bother me so much, just in general. I'm not the biggest fan of her. Adult her, I should say. So, that's all.
All right. Yeah. So then she starts kind of remembering back to what she was having an idea about the last time we saw young Beverly. And she talks about the birds. Yes, I was thinking of them because I was ashamed. It was my father who made me ashamed, I guess, and maybe that was its doing too, maybe. The memory behind the birds, but it was vague and disconnected. Perhaps this one always would be. Her thoughts broke off as she realized that Eddie, and it rolls into section 12, Love and Desire, August 10th, 1958. And it leads off that Eddie comes to her first, and who wants to take this one away?
I will. I purposely wrote something to cover it.
Okay.
Here we go. I don't want to say much on this section because it's a section of much debate and conversation. For me, I've never been extremely bothered by this section. Beverly uses this as sort of not really a sign of power, but as a way to break them all together. She's controlling it. Nobody's doing it to her. This is her choice. Yes, the fact that they're 11 is very cringeworthy, and it's not appropriate at all, but it served the purpose they needed to create the bond. And we already know they made it out, so it was effective. Not always something you want to have happen again with any children, but it is what it is, and I'm ready to just blow right past it.
Yeah.
That's my
and that's kind of my thoughts on this too, since this is our multiple times reading this. When I first read it, it didn't really shock me. It made sense to me as why this section would be in there about her taking the power, her bringing the group together and everything. It's very well written. It is well described. The emotional aspect of it, it makes a lot of sense. Was I surprised by it? No, because it was spoiled for me by my older sister, who told me about this years and years before I ever read the book, because I told her I liked the movie, and she's like, "Oh, well, this happens in the book," and I was like, "Oh," thinking it's her as an adult that it happens, and then this part came. I'm like, "Okay, that's a bit of a shock." So, besides that, everything else is like, okay, I get it. And I've seen the online hatred and the controversy and all that. It's like, it's fine. It's children. It's the way things happen at times. So it's not a big thing. And that's why I'm kind of letting Luke, I wanted to get mine out after yours, Melissa. And Luke, since as the first time reader, go.
I don't like it. I am certainly not a prude by any means, but this just feels fundamentally unnecessary to the story. It feels like it's just there to create a controversy or a shock and awe thing that I don't think, which I'm very surprised in thinking that, because that is not King to me. And from what I've grown to know about King, there's so many other things that he does really well and surprising. This is a bit of a letdown for me. I think this is just blatantly bad. I don't like it. I don't care that it's nicely written and they have these nice character moments. I think they could have done something else. I don't know. It just feels weird to me. And there were some interesting things that come out of it. There's the line that, let me see if I can find it. I know I have it highlighted. And she feels the thing and begin to happen, something of which the girls who whisper and giggle about sex in the girls' room have no idea. At least as far as she knows, they only marvel at how gushy sex must be. And now she realizes that for many of them, sex must be some unrealized, undefined monster. They refer to the act as it. Would you do it? Do your sister and boyfriend do it? Do your mom and dad still do it? And how they never intend to do it. Oh yes, you would think that the whole girls' side of the 5th grade class was made up of spinsters to be. I just thought it was more interesting to bring it up because of how it, Pennywise, is so fundamentally used that way, and then it's flipped onto its head, just the usage of that word in this sexual context, especially for kids. I think that was a really good thing to bring in of like, hey, it can be like this evil thing or whatever, but like, I thought it was interesting that it was capitalized each time it was mentioned in that section there. And then she also talks about this concept of laughter. And this was just a general thought that I very much agreed with and have thought before. You laugh because what's fearful and unknown is also what's funny. You laugh the way a small child will sometimes laugh and cry at the same time when a capering circus clown approaches, knowing it is supposed to be funny, but it is also unknown, full of the unknown's eternal power. So I think that kind of idea is really, really powerful. What makes people laugh? It's usually being surprised by something. It's taking a normal pattern of, that's why wordplay is usually so funny, is because, well, you take something that you normally say and you just flip something so minor that it totally changes the context, and you were surprised by that. And so I think that's a lot of where comedy comes in, and I like the way that laughter and fear are really not two terribly different feelings because of that expectation of the unknown. And I just thought it was a really, really nice paragraph to kind of get to a really complicated thought process in a really concise way. One final thought I have here that is just kind of relevant because of how much we've been talking about the deadlights. There's specifically the term used, the lifelight, here. And so this is towards the end of Ben and Bev's time together, we'll say. And it says they break into the lifelight together. Then it is over and they are in each other's arms. So I just thought that was interesting that he specifically put that in there as the counterpoint to whatever the deadlights really are. I think that was very intentional to say that there's something natural and beautiful in what's going on here compared to the dirty nastiness that is the deadlights, that is what comprises it. So that was just another thing that jumped out at me. I don't really have a whole lot else to say on the goings on here, except for, hey, the gangbang's over, it's time to go. Like, they all just start remembering what's going on. I just don't like, it feels so unnecessary to me, personally.
Okay, sounds good.
Fair.
All right. All right, let's talk about questions for the new reader.
All right, so first, tell me your thoughts on the deadlights.
Tell me all your thoughts on deadlights.
At the same time.
I can't take you to anywhere.
You can't, but you probably will. Deadlights. This is one of the more complicated things that I have a lot of ideas on, and I should have written more of them down. But the main one that really, really jumps out at me, and I think I read this line earlier. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. It's Richie describing that. Which section was that in? 8, 9, no.
Richie would have been 7, I think. No, I'm sorry. Richie is 4.
4. Richie sensed them drawing closer to whatever passed for the real world, although he believed he would never think of it exactly as the real world, as real again. He would see it as a clever canvas scene underlaid with crisscrossing support cables like strands of a spider web. And before, when he's truly describing that whole paragraph that I read earlier, he says that, the deadlights and these, he describes them as like this tall, colossal gray wall made of fossilized wooden stakes, and the light coming between them. He describes it as being full of force, magnetism, gravity, and perhaps something else. the way those are all worded and knowing about when this book came out, there really seems to be some underlying string theory type ideas going on here. I don't want to get too much into it, as I am not a string theorist myself and only know it from the very base nature of it, but shame, I know, just so embarrassing. But it really seems like part of that, especially with how cosmological a lot of these sections got, it seems to be some kind of description of standard form of the universe and incorporating everything to that. As for what the deadlights, I don't know. It's almost like, if I'm going to stick with that, hey, it's some form of string theory. It's almost like that is just what this demigod that's been put into this version of the universe, which the turtle created. That's the only thing it can conceive of. Hey, anytime I've gone near this, or whatever, like, this is what I use to kill people. And so he's just termed it that because it's bright. And like, I think it's a really simplified version of something way more complex going on. I don't know. I feel like I had some more thoughts on it earlier, but that's the one that really stands out to me, of not even a full-fledged thought. But what are your guys' thoughts on the deadlights?
They exist. That's all I got.
They're there. It's like you're driving a hearse at night without your headlights on.
Okay. Next question.
Who is the other? I know. I did big ones. Big questions.
And ones that don't have answers. Like, at least...
You don't know that. The book's not over.
For where we are right now, they don't have any... This is speculations. I know. I know. It's just frustrating not knowing. Especially because we have a chapter left. A single numbered chapter left. Who is the other? So, the other was described as coming after the turtle. Oh, where was that at? The final other was, perhaps, the creator of the turtle, which only watched, and it, which only ate. So the final other would be the creator of both of those. There's a lot of commas in that, and I think I've read that 2 different ways. So, the final other who only watches. So it's just a multiverse godlike creation or being that created the turtle, which created this universe, and it, which formed in this universe, kind of a good and evil, or neutral and evil that comes out of things. But for what the final other is, I don't fucking know.
Excellent. Good job.
Fair. I was going to say it might tie into your question that you have, but we don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, so my question I came up with kind of on the fly, just since we had heard always about the turtle, but now we're learning more about the other. We've heard the other maybe once or twice before, but is the other the one that's responsible for the success of most of the losers?
No, I'm sticking with the turtle. I'm thinking he was lying to Bill because he needed Bill to believe it himself. And the turtle is not dead. I'm not buying it yet.
And let's say if Pennywise, if it doesn't lie, maybe the turtle does.
I don't think we have any reason to believe that it doesn't lie. I think he absolutely can. I think he probably has. He doesn't necessarily need to, because I liked your point, Benji, that, fact is certainly can be more terrifying than fiction. It's a lot closer to home in a lot of the applications we've seen, but I don't think he's above lying.
No, he's not. We see in the very first chapter with George, where he says, there's balloons down here. There's a carnival. You can come down.
But there wasn't.
But there wasn't. There might have been, but probably not. But, so I'm not saying he's above lying. It's just, he typically doesn't lie, especially to the losers, or at least to Bill.
I think him saying that the turtle was dead is a huge, huge bullet in the chamber for it. If they believe that the turtle is dead and can't help them, the belief in themselves is going to dwindle really quick. That is a huge power player for them.
So here's the thing. During the Richie section, he sees a husk of what appears to be a dead turtle shell.
What appears to be, yeah.
So I
saw the line. I read it earlier. It's, I'm not buying it.
Okay. All right. Fair.
I'm not buying it. Turtle's still good. Good dude, man. So questions from the new reader. This is more of a comment. Probably open-ended. Please tell me that we're going to get the saga of Booger's Teleendo at some point trying to leave Derry.
What you need? Oh, God.
Luke.
Yes.
we get the saga of Booker's Teleendo.
Good.
I was going to say
that because you told me to tell you that.
Just read 11/22/63. You might be pleased.
Good.
You might not, but you might.
You should read it anyway. It's good book.
It is, exactly. That's kind of my point.
Okie doke, let's talk about our favorite things. Melissa, what was your favorite thing?
The reappearance of Mr. Nell. He was mentioned a lot. So first, Richie literally pulls his essence in the Richie section. Then Eddie has a comment about how Mr. Nell-like Richie was during his imitation-ish of Mr. Nell. And then Mr. Nell actually does the line that Richie did in the previous 2 sections before he dies. I really like that. I look at it the same as when our group of friends sent their power to Mike in the hospital. I feel like this is a time where Mr. Nell sent his power to Richie. Whether intentionally or consciously or unconsciously, but he did. And that to me shows that not all dairy folk are bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Nell's he's been one of the goods for a long time, in my opinion. Benj, what was your favorite thing?
Yeah, so first of all, you guys took both of mine that I had planned on doing, and that's fine. You got it faster. But for an honorable mention, I will go with Richie with the top-notch dad jokes. Nobody, no existential being could not laugh at some of the shit he said. So Richie, for his part, it had me laughing pretty well. That's why I had all of his stuff highlighted.
My favorite thing was my man the turtle, and when he goes, "Son, you've got to thrust your fists against the posts and still insist you see the ghosts. That's all I can tell you. Once you get into cosmological shit like this, you got to throw away the instruction manual." I legitimately laughed out loud when I read that the first time. Just like, are you serious with this, King? Like, Stephen King, you're literally putting this? Like, I just was so taken aback by it and surprised by it. I giggled, and it was good. All right. That will pretty much wrap us up for this chapter. Big number, chapter 22. You can find us on social media at Floats Down Here. You can send us a digital balloon to floatsdownhere@gmail.com. Check out this show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com, where we have our support us page, and you can find all the different ways you can help keep our lights on and keep the balloon bank full. Subscribe, like, rate, and leave comments on iTunes or on YouTube. Make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel for the podcast, That Family of Podcasts.
This show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. Learn more about our new 2.0 reward tiers at patreon.com/stayimaginary. Be sure to check out our special offer for anyone joining at the $10 Legatus level or higher. Join at these levels between now and September 1st, and we will send you our limited edition t-shirt.
I'm excited to talk to you about the next chapter, which I haven't read yet. I'm assuming it's going to be cool, and I'll be excited at that point to talk about it. But it'll be chapter number 23, and it is entitled Out.
You'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.